I got you, people. So, I always had conversation with certain subscribers. So, we were talking about that the war is gonna end because the United States and Iran made a deal to stop the war, and he's talking about that the gas prices was gonna go down, and the market on gas was gonna collapse too, was gonna go down. And I'm saying to myself, that's never gonna happen. You know why? Because Iran really didn't start the war, right? The one that's causing all these problems is Israel over there in the Middle East, right? I said a long time ago, the Arab nation should have got together and canceled that little piece out there, right? They can't stop it. If everybody gets together and cancel Israel and our problem is over, no. But every time Donald Trump's trying to make a deal, the Israelis always come up with something and violate the treaty and stop shooting bombs again and causing trouble to other regions in the Middle East. That's the problem with the Israeli Prime Minister, right, Netanyahu. Instead of Trump being strong, listen, we're gonna cut everybody's funding on weapons and we're gonna stop the war, whether you like it or not. So we should just handle the consequences, the repercussions, whatever. America's always been ready for anything, and things always happen. The people always make things happen. It doesn't matter in which country, but every country makes things happen. And America gotta be the same. We gotta start getting entangled with other countries because we want to show loyalty to Israel. Israel's not even in America, man. He's in a foreign country, and he's creating trouble in all the region. Things like that. And we not only supplying Israel, we supplying, Ukraine. Millions of dollars with that. All that money could have been he used here in the States and open jobs for all these, adolescents, teenagers. Every summer, they should have unemployment for them, to work instead of being out here, riding these crazy bikes and then causing trouble. They ain't got nothing to do. They got a lot of energy, man. If you don't give them some entertainment, so these youngsters could do something, work, and burn out this energy. No, but what you give them is war. If they think like that, they say, man, the war, this country's all messed up. I ain't gonna enjoy myself by any means necessary, the way I know how, and things like that. That's why it's always chaos here in America. And people don't take things lightly. That's why we don't like to lose, and we take things hard. So, Donald Trump's got to be sure and told Netanyahu, listen, if you don't come down, you don't stand down, you're going to be the next one getting kidnapped from your own Israeli over there in the Middle East. Fuck that guy, man. Kidnap the guy and that's it. Put him on some restraint. Show him that you are the president of the United States and your word is bound, and he's got to obey your words, man. The reason why he's still standing because the United States of America, our military, is protecting that guy and the little country they gave him back in the I don't know, it was in 1954, 1974, one of them years. I don't remember that because I ain't gonna go back too long. But how the Israelis over there got a piece of land over there in the Middle East, in the West Banks or whatever. But they the ones that causing all this trouble. That's why all these wars been breaking out, and the economy's not gonna get better if Israel keeps on violating countries' peace treaties and throwing bombs and rockets, overhead overnight through the day. You don't know what's gonna happen. He doesn't want the war to end. He just want to continue creating wars out there. We need to put this guy on notice that his reign is over. That's it. He's got to step down and let the world come to its senses again and trade and do things the right way again. Because we can't be going forever fighting wars. Technology's high, everything's high, and people are just not feeling good about the countries anymore. Not the United States, not any country. So people are just living under stress. Anything happens, you take them off, and they take a life. That's how bad it is already. But you gotta tell this Netanyahu to stand down, or put him in the blacklist. Kidnap the guy, bring him back to America, and hold him in a cell. He did more than war crimes, but he broke the engagement, the rules of engagement. We got a president try to create peace, and the other allies that we have don't want to obey and still supply weapons for these wars to continue fighting. Somebody's got to be out there and be strong, and I guess take the matter to their own hands and just make things right again, because America's never going to be right again and things like that. That's why I say the gas price is never going to go down. It's a lie. It goes up, $1 and goes up again, $2. There's no way we're going to get stuck with these prices. Even if they come up with an agreement or whatever, the gas prices are going to stay the same. The only ones that's making money are these big corporations, gas distributors, gas stations, and the people that really need this gas to do their work, transporting and all that. They're the ones who's feeling the hurt in their pocket, And insurance went up too. I hate that. What does insurance got to do with the prices of the economy? That's not their job. Their job is to insure the driver if an accident happens. That's it. But these insurance, they ask too many questions. That's another thing about these. They got to put these insurance, auto insurance and notice too that you're gouging the people. You're making it impossible for now to buy a car. Cars right now cost expensive, and insurance is costing more than a full coverage. You're paying the same thing. You're paying full coverage, and then you're paying for liability the same amount of a full coverage. That's crazy. All these companies got to put on notice. The citizens got to take charge. Don't buy new cars then. Use your old car. Buy another new old car and fix it and use it for a couple of years. You got to put the hurt back in the industry of automakers. Why are you going to buy a new car if you can't fix it? You can't send it to fix your regular mechanic. You got to go to the dealership back, and they're going to charge you hundreds of dollars, and it always breaks down with the warranty expires, which is going to cost double. They're ripping off the people. That's what it's all. Everything is gouging on the people, because these people up in big corporations, they don't care. They're still making money. They find out ways to invest. And another thing is, there's no need to keep money in your bank no more. Your bank is not paying you. I know it's a safeguard, but find ways to invest your money. At least you could get something back out of it. Even in the bank, it's not going to do nothing, because they lend your own bank. That should be put on notice too. Using other people's money to invest it without their consent. The money that the banks made should be giving something back to the people that deposit that money there, because we are the ones that deposit money, and the bank is using our money without our consent and making more money out of it, lending it out and charging high interest. That interest belongs to the customer. The customer that put that money into that bank should be getting that money back. Things got to change. People got to get wiser now and turn the tables and tell, no, if you want to borrow my money from my savings or my accounts, you got to give me some interest back quarterly, not every year, quarterly, like everybody else in the stock market, quarterly. That's it. You want to use other people's money, you got to pay. There's no free handouts for the government or any company or corporations, because they take advantage of the people, because the people don't know the value of their money or the value of their investing or what they're losing when they just save it and they don't put it to work. And these people are using your money. No, they're gonna have to pay from now on. So you got to be wise and talk about these things and educate other people that you're losing money because you're letting your money, other people invest with your money, right? Other people's money, right? Other people's property. That's what they do. They invest with other people's money, other people's property. They take advantage. And they got all these charges on it, and they charge you and you end up paying. But the thing is that I want to track, man. We got to get rid of that Netanyahu or whatever. We got to kidnap him, bring him here, and put him in restraint, whatever. But he's no good. He already exceeded his time in office. He did what he had to do. It's time for to cancel that guy and put the nations, every nation in the world, to start doing business again, because we're not gonna survive like this. Everybody's under stress. Things happen when people are upset and stressed. A lot of people can't go out this summer. you know, because things are too high. I guess they're gonna start barbecuing again in the streets and the sidewalks, play music. You know what the cops are gonna do? There's nowhere to go. You know, that's their neighborhood. That's where they're gonna do their thing. That's where they're gonna do their parties, their gathering, right? Right on their neighborhoods where they're gonna go. That's what they live at. That's their residence. You know, and you know it's hard not to open a community, you know, black party if you know the permits are too high or whatever. They give you bureaucracy how to get the permit, or you can't get it because they don't trust the neighborhood because you know there's been too many violence around that area. The crime is high during that area. You know the people always get the bad end of the stick. And anyway, people, with that, I let you go and you think about that, man. Make sure that your money is paying you back. Don't let anybody use your money and make money out of it. With that, I let you go and think about that.